I'm the Rick in RickTurns, and today I'm going to turn this flying saucer Christmas tree ornament. Because after all, nothing says Christmas like aliens flying through the sky. Like my other Christmas tree ornaments that I have videos for on YouTube, on my RickTurns channel, this is intended to be very quick and very easy to turn. The reason is I make a lot of them. I'll probably make a dozen of this over the next month or so. So, let's go to the lathe and start turning. Now for this little flying saucer Christmas ornament, I don't need a whole lot of wood, obviously. I make these generally from a blank about like this. Now that other piece was walnut, this is a different wood, this is Bradford pear. With some slits in it, it may not even be usable. But I'll take this and I'll put it between centers and rough it down to about 2 inches in diameter. And that gives me a blank about like this. This one I think is a little bit larger, and this is maple, I think. I always turn a tenon on this end to go into this chuck. Now first thing I'm going to do with this is bring it back to round. As whenever you unchuck and rechuck, whether it's between centers, going into a chuck or whatever, it'll never run perfectly true. So I'm just going to run it back true again, just because I like to start with something that's not vibrating. For this I'm using a 1-inch screwdriver. Alright, I don't have any tool marks on the end here. I usually do. So I'm just going to put a little center right there. It's just so I can start the drill bit. This will be the top of the ornament. That's where I need to put in a hanger. I've got a 3/32" drill bit in here, which is what I need for the hangers that I use. And I'm just going to drill it in right up to the nose. Normally with drilling I would turn the lathe speed down considerably, but it's such a small drill bit, it doesn't generate that much heat. I haven't found it necessary to turn the speed down. That's my hanger hole. First thing I'm going to cut here will be the canopy, right here, where the alien's head sticks up and he can see out. And I'll do that by cutting a slope down and leaving some material here. So I'm going to do this with a 3/8" spindle gouge. The size of the canopy doesn't really matter. It can be as thick or as wide in diameter as you want it and as tall as you want it. That's about what I want. So I'm going to shape it. I'm going to put a little bit of a decoration on the top here. I'm going to leave a groove right in here for a burn line. I'm going to burn or turn a couple of other things right in here, I think. My aliens really like the bells and whistles. I have a burn line there. I'm going to put a burn line here too. Okay. And for the bottom of the flying saucer, I'm going to waste away some of this material down here, leave about 3/8 or 1/2 inch there, and then I'll cut that bottom slope. Now to shape the bottom of it. And then I'm going to put a little groove here, again for burning. Before I burn any of the lines in, I'm going to go ahead and sand it. Sanding's not very interesting, either for you or me. So I'm going to turn the cameras off and I'll come back when I'm done sanding. This is the last grit of sandpaper. And this one is well sanded. I'll sand with 5 grits of paper, 180, 240, 320, 400, and 600. And that gives me a pretty smooth finish. I want to put in some burn lines. Using a burning tool like this, just a wire between 2 handles. I had the lathe down at 850 for sanding. Bring it up to 1900 for burning. I also want to put a burn right on the edge of the body. And for that I'm going to use an old scrap of sandpaper folded up. And I'm just going to hit it very briefly with the 600 paper again, just to remove any varnishing that might have been there. I got it wrong or anything. Okay, that's good. Alright, for the finish I'm going to be using a friction polish. This is white shellac with some additives. Now I take the white shellac, dilute it a little bit, about 3-to-1 with alcohol. And then after I saw a tip on, I believe, Captain Eddie's YouTube channel, I added some boiled linseed oil to it, about 4-to-1 shellac to oil. And kind of to my surprise, it really turned out better. Use the friction polish, you just put some on a paper towel or a cloth and wipe it on the piece. You obviously want to be careful and get it into all those little crevices. Sometimes it's hard to get in there. In this case, it's a very simple ornament. It's not hard to get it in the crevices. You don't want to put too much friction polish on, just enough to wet the surface a little bit to get it down. If you put too much friction polish on, what will frequently happen when you start polishing it, which I'm about to do, it'll gum up a little bit. And then you get little lines on there. You kind of have to sand it back to bare wood. So to polish a friction polish, you just use the applicator cloth and polish it right with the area where you had the polish on. You can see it's shining right up. It's hot enough to make it uncomfortable on my fingers. That's the friction part. And you really want that, because it doesn't really shine until you get it heated up. Ouch. That looks great. Quite pleased with that. And last step, I'm going to put on some canuba wax, just like this. Other waxes will do as well. There's a number of them for wood turning. Doesn't take much wax. And this is my waxing cloth. It's got a good bit of wax already melted into it. I want to get it hot too. I want to feel the heat on my fingers to know that it's melting that wax and polishing it. And that's got it. The turning is done. You just got to part it off now. For parting off, I'm going to use this. This is narrow parting tool. Any parting tool will do, of course. And I'm going to catch it, of course, once it comes off. Okay, there it is. This is actually a little bit bigger flying saucer than I normally make. That's okay. Size doesn't really matter. I'll cut that knob off with a knife or something. Put some finish down here just to seal the wood and get it to the same color. Then I'm going to put some landing pads on it and put a hanger right here, which we'll now go to the workbench to do. Well, the first thing I'm going to do here is mark some holes on the bottom. So I'm going to put one here, one about here, and one about here. Now we're going to go to the drill press. I made that little very complicated jig to hold the turned piece while I drill it. And all I need is about a ½ inch or so. Probably not even that much. So we're ready to put the feet on. I use these little black mat pins, or white mat pins, as the landing pads for the saucer. Now the shank on this is just very, very narrow. I don't have a drill bit that small, nor do I even want to buy one. They break too easy. So I take this and I bend over the point right there, so the point is pointing up towards the top of the mat pin. And I leave it kind of splayed out just like that, maybe even a little bit more, because I want that little hook to grip the wood if it tries to come out. This is just a safety measure. Since this is liable to be in kids' hands, I don't want any loose pieces coming off. Alright, I'm going to put these in now. I use some gel super glue for this. Just a drop. The pin itself is going to keep it in there. Alrighty. These can sometimes be a little difficult to get in. This one's going in okay. Take off the excess glue there. Now the saucer can safely land on a flat surface anyway. Now, for the hanger at the top, I make my own hanger so that I can use colored craft wire. So I'm going to cut off 2 inches of wire. Take this, just bend it around one of these prongs here, and then loop it around the large one, like so. Take my pliers here and put a twist in it. Now that twist fits pretty nicely in the 3/32 inch hole that I drilled in the top. And if it doesn't, then I can widen it a little bit. So take that off, cut it shorter, out there, like this. Now I've got a hanger hole there. See how it fits? Good, it's snug enough. Once again, a little bit of gel, super glue. And because of that spiral, it'll usually kind of screw in. Whoops, but not always. There. Yep, that's going to stay in real tight. That will not come out by mistake. Alrighty. So this is my flying saucer ornament. I've got a bunch more to make.